I'm going to read from section 20 of the Manual for Teachers of A Course in Miracles. And the Manual for Teachers is the third section of the course. There's three main sections. There's the text, which is the theory. There's the workbook, which is the practical application of the theory. And then there's the Manual for Teachers, which is questions and answers. Questions that a lot of students have about A Course in Miracles. So number 20 is, what is the peace of God? And remember that the course starts with a famous premise, which is nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, herein lies the peace of God. And so what is the peace of God? And how is it different than the love of God? Is there, why does Jesus keep talking about the peace of God? All right, so let's read this section. It has been said that there is a kind of peace that is not of this world. How is it recognized? How is it found? And being found, how can it be retained? Let us consider each of these questions separately, for each reflects a different step along the way. First, how can the peace of God be recognized? God's peace is recognized at first by just one thing. In every way, it is totally unlike all previous experiences. It calls to mind nothing that went before. It brings with it no past associations. It is a new thing entirely. There is a contrast, yes, between this thing and all the past, but strangely, it is not a contrast of true differences. The past just slips away, and in its place is everlasting quiet. Only that. The contrast first perceived has merely gone. Quiet has reached to cover everything. How is this quiet found? No one can fail to find it who but seeks out its conditions. God's peace can never come where anger is, for anger must deny that peace exists. Who sees anger as justified in any way or any circumstance proclaims that peace is meaningless and must believe that it cannot exist. In this condition, peace cannot be found. Therefore, forgiveness is the necessary condition for finding the peace of God. More than this, given forgiveness, there must be peace. For what except attack will lead to war? And what but peace is opposite to war? Here, the initial contrast stands out clear and apparent. Yet when peace is found, the war is meaningless. And it is conflict now that is perceived as non-existent and unreal. How is the peace of God retained once it is found? Returning anger in whatever form will drop the heavy curtain once again, and the belief that peace cannot exist will certainly return. War is again accepted as the one reality. Now must you once again lay down your sword, although you do not recognize that you have picked it up again. But you will learn, as you remember even faintly now what happens was yours without it, that you must have taken it again as your defense. Stop for a moment now and think of this. Is conflict what you want, or is God's peace the better choice? Which gives you more? A tranquil mind is not a little gift. Would you not rather live than choose to die? Living is joy, but death can only weep. You see in death escape from what you made, but this you do not see, that you made death, and it is but illusion of an end. Death cannot be escaped because it is not life in which the problem lies. Life has no opposite, for it is God. Life and death seem to be opposites because you have decided death ends life. Forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end, and nothing he did not create is real. In this one sentence is our course explained. In this one sentence is our practicing given its one direction. And in this one section is the Holy Spirit's whole curriculum specified exactly as it is. What is the peace of God? No more than this, the simple understanding that his will is wholly without opposite. There is no thought that contradicts his will, yet can be true. The contrast between his will and yours but seemed to be reality. In truth, there was no conflict, for his will is yours. Now is the mighty will of God himself, his gift to you. He does not seek to keep it for himself. Why would you seek to keep your tiny, frail imaginings apart from him? The will of God is one and all there is. This is your heritage. The universe beyond the sun and stars and all the thoughts of which you can conceive belong to you. God's peace is the condition for his will. Attain his peace and you remember him. So a lot here. Let's talk about a few things. How is this quiet found? No one can fail to find it who but seeks out its conditions, which is a way of saying you got to want it. If you want the peace of God, you will have it. Jesus says this over and over again in the Course, is that as soon as you make that your goal, and your one goal, it has to be, it has to be the only thing that's important for you, because it really is the only thing important, although we don't realize that from where we are. But if we are open to that, to that being our goal, and that's really all that we really want, Jesus says that the means will be provided. Once you have the end, right, the means are going to be provided for you. You don't have to worry about that. In one way or another, you're going to find it. And it doesn't matter how it happens. It doesn't matter what the means are, right? The means are not essential. It's the goal. It's like we say, it's all about the journey. It's not the destination. Well, that's true to a certain extent, but when you reach the destination, the journey doesn't really matter. Now, a lot of people think that there isn't a destination, and that's for us to find out, right? It's for God to know and for us to find out if it's true or not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? Who in this world really knows? But the other thing that Jesus says here, which is fascinating and really, he really goes into the anger thing. So this is a very important part of the Course, and a lot of people struggle with this. Let's read what he says here. God's peace can never come where anger is, for anger must deny that peace exists. Who sees anger as justified in any way or any circumstance proclaims that peace is meaningless and must believe that it cannot exist. In this condition, peace cannot be found. Therefore, forgiveness is the necessary condition for finding the peace of God. So you seek out the conditions of peace, right? What are the conditions? The conditions are recognizing that anger is not justified. This is a very big one for all of us, because we do think that anger is okay, in some cases. And Jesus said it's never justified. It's not to say that we won't get angry, or that it's to say that if we do get angry, we almost inevitably will, or at least we will feel anger. We don't try to justify it. We don't try to think that we are right, because Jesus is saying we're not right. The anger is showing us that we are not at peace. Therefore, forgiveness is the necessary condition for finding the peace of God. More than this, given forgiveness, there must be peace. For what except attack will lead to war? So, hand in hand with not justifying anger is this idea of complete forgiveness, right? No one did anything to you, right? Whatever is making you angry or making you feel angry, is just showing you that you're not at peace and that you need to let it go. And you let it go not by shoving it away or destroying it in any way, but just acknowledging it. Saying, you just calmly say to yourself, there's anger. And that means that I'm still not completely at peace. And that's okay. You have to forgive yourself for that. You have to say, well, okay. Ken Wapnick had a great line, which is a good course student is a bad course student who forgives him or herself, right? Because we almost, it's almost impossible to do this perfectly in this world, right? So you have to forgive yourself. Forgive your own lack of forgiveness. And the more you can do that and just laugh at yourself and laugh at everything, you will, things will shift. You won't be as angry, for sure. Here's another thing that Jesus says here. Life has no opposite, for it is God. Now, life and death, when Jesus is talking about life and death, in a sense, he's talking about, words are just, they can be interchangeable, So like love is the same as God. Life is the same as God, and love, they're all basically synonyms. Death is the ego. Death is fear. Death is darkness, and anything that you don't want. It is duality. So life and death is like saying love and fear, right? Life has no opposite. Love has no opposite, for it is God. Life and death seem to be opposites because you have decided death ends life. Forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end, and nothing he did not create is real. In this one sentence is our course explained. In this one sentence is our practicing given its one direction. And in this one sentence is the Holy Spirit's whole curriculum specified exactly as it is. So this is an important sentence. Let's read the sentence again. Forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end, and nothing he did not create is real. So the ego is not real. Death is not real. There is no death. There is no sin. Sin is not real. The world that we see is not real, because it's the world we see through the filter of the ego. Now, it's a question of whether, there is a debate about whether when we get all the way home, the world disappears. We don't see the world anymore. Or is it just that the veil is lifted, we see the world as it truly is, which Jesus calls the real world. But he says you will see the real world, but then the real world will vanish, and you will be back in God again. That's something, it seems to be, that the world will disappear, the disappearance of the universe. What is the peace of God? Let's end with this. What is the peace of God? No more than this: the simple understanding that his will is holy without opposite. Right? There's no opposite. This seems to be talking about non-duality, right? That in this world there are opposites. We live in a dualistic universe. Life and death, love and fear, spirit and ego, and all the other opposites, that we can point to. But God, in the ultimate reality, which is God, which is, you could say, love, which is life, there's no opposite, right? There's no opposing force. There's only the oneness. Everything else is illusory, does not exist, completely nothing. There's no thought that contradicts his will, yet can be true. The contrast between his will and yours but seem to be reality. In truth, there was no conflict, for his will is yours. Now is the mighty will of God himself his gift to you. He does not seek to keep it for himself. Why would you seek to keep your tiny, frail imaginings apart from him? The will of God is one and all there is. This is your heritage. The universe beyond the sun and stars and all the thoughts of which you can conceive belong to you. God's peace is the condition for his will. Attain his peace and you remember him. So this is an important thought here at the end, which is, and this is something that Jesus says throughout the Course, which is, you have to fulfill the conditions, the necessary conditions for the awakening back to God to happen. You will not fully understand what is being said here. You will not have the experience of God unless you fulfill these conditions. Once you have fulfilled the conditions, as Jesus says famously, truth will dawn upon you of itself. It will just happen. You have fulfilled the conditions, and therefore you will go back. You will find it in some way or another. You will have that experience. Now you may go. You may come back from that, and you still might have some anger. Right? You may even have that experience, and you may have fulfilled the conditions, but then you may fall back to some old patterns. But as you keep removing and doing that inner work, this all becomes more and more stable and consistent, and your inner experience becomes more and more of joy and peace, and everything else that you truly want. You become the person that you truly want to be, and that you really always knew that you were, if you could just get certain things out of the way. And one of the big ones is that feeling of separation, which results in anger, because we push it outside of ourselves. We project outside of ourselves, and then we get angry at others. We get angry at life. We get angry at God. We get angry at Jesus. We get angry at the Course. We get angry at just about everything. And we're really angry at ourselves because we know that we really want to be at peace, but we're not. So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit. What is the peace of God? And thank you for listening. Well, we're going to do more of these. We're going through the whole course this year, 2023, 2024. I've been reading through the text, and I've gotten to almost to chapter 23 in the text, and it's on this channel, truly helpful. So if you want to keep listening, tune in, and we're going to keep going. I really feel strong about this, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. I feel like this is for those who are sensitive individuals that are truly seeking the truth in life. This is for you. So thank you. See you soon.